Wayne's Weird World, where sometimes things are wonderful and more often just weird, but it is 1 o'clock somewhere. At least it's here. An orchid that's gradually growing out of its pot, and I don't have any larger squat pots, so I'm going to mount this one on a large piece of driftwood. I pulled 3 out of my pile that I thought had potential, and this is the one I like. We're going to do this one. So first off, I have to drill because some of my mounts I do as 360s so that the orchid can grow all the way around it. And if I can get my arm and hand coordinated, sometimes it just moves around. This is where extra hands are really, really useful. And long arms. And when I use that drill bit, I wish my arms were about another half a meter longer. I haven't stabbed myself yet. First time for everything. Whoops, come through somewhere. Love that noise. Woohoo! So I don't need the long drill bit. You can see why having long arms for the big mounts really is handy. Okay, now, oh, what a mess. Different grades of wire. I did one with heavy monofilament fishing line, 200 kilogram fish line, but I've got a whole bunch of this stuff. This is high tensile fencing wire. And since I pulled out all the internal fences, all the internal fencing on my block, I no longer have cows, and I don't think I want sheep. I think I can do fairly well without more fences. Okay. Now, decide how much longer I want it. Yep, about there. I've already filed off this end, which is going to be for the hanger. So I'll bend that now so I can move it around a bit better. And now I take and put a small hole to anchor the other end and a hook. Then I unpot that big Laelia, and it can then take its place alongside my other big Laelias, because some of these things are really not supposed to be used for mounts. Because I've had people tell me they're too big. Well, If they're too big for mounting, make a bigger mount. And the big Laelia Chamberliana that's hanging up in the corner, it's about 35 years old, and it's big. Okay, now if I bend 45 or 60 degree hook on this end, if all goes well, I can get it back into this second little hole. Yeah, right. The second little hole that I drilled. Squeeze it. Try not to pinch fingers. Now if I can get that back in there. Oh, come on. Now, make it shorter. The only thing it has to do is prevent it from pulling back through, so it doesn't really need a long hook on it. Now, it's going to be difficult. I might just have to hammer it in the way it is. Come on, fingers. And if all goes well, the mounting wire nearly disappears. That's not too bad. You can just see a trace of it. And that's the way I like it. I don't like them sticking out like, well, we won't say some of those things. Okay. I've run out of wires. We'll move you for the time being. Get in there. Oh, come on. And we'll hang you up here. And perhaps right about there. Okay. Next step. Unpotting the Laelia and find out what sort of a mess we have. Sometimes it's very straightforward, sometimes not. I don't know. I'm always hopeful that we have good healthy roots on here, but it has a really nice new growth on it. Oh, looky. Promising, very promising. Be very, very careful of that little gem, because that's the new growth. And the roots are not rotted in the middle. This is good. Ooh, I like it. Gentle, gentle. Now, a few of these are rotted. You can feel them because they're just hollow. Now, you can peel off the outer casing and leave that strand because that will help with the anchoring. So at some stage in the past, this poor Laelia was too wet. And that's why I like my my driftwood mounts, because it really takes a lot for the roots to be too wet. Okay, I think we'll leave it at that. Now let's have a look here. That was a flower spike. It just decided it wasn't going to develop. I think the weather was a little bit too cold this winter, and it just stopped. My little computer fan is kicked in the background. Yeah, we might do it like that. Yeah, I think we'll do it like that. Okay. Now, grab some nice living sphagnum moss. You cannot get any better than that. That came from a private property. So I have limited access to it, but I don't need very much, and that will probably keep me going for a good year or so if I don't waste it. I think this looks good. There's another one that's hollow. No, gently peel that one. Yep. The pinch test usually is enough. You give it a bit of a squeeze and they feel just, oh, here's another one. Yep. They just feel hollow, spongy, where the other ones are quite firm. All right, let's do it. The new growth. Get out my bobbin. I'll have to do a little video clip on how I make these oversized fly tying bobbins. But they're not hard. Okay. Backhand. Alan Jones backhand. The way he made comments to the New Zealand Prime Minister, yeah, backhand, not nice. Okay. Now that I've gotten this far, the rest of it goes a lot easier. And the bobbin that way doesn't disappear. Okay. Put a little bit in there first. Gentle, gentle. Watch where I put my fingers. One of the worst setbacks you could probably have is to break off new growth. So that's something to be very mindful of. Now the string, the fishing line, is going to hold a lot of these roots down against the mount. And I don't even try and cover all the roots. I might tuck in a few little bits later on with a pair of tweezers, but for right now, if I can stand this back up again, once I get it around 2 or 3 times, in you go. Once I get 2 or 3 turns, it becomes fairly self-supporting. We'll put that under that root. And across that bit of moss. Yep, once you get 2 or 3 turns, everything starts to become stable. I've seen people do heavy wire, plastic coated packaging ties. I've even seen people use cable ties, Ziploc things. Well, that might be fine, but once that orchid is secure on its mount and you want to take all that rubbish off, it gets to be really, really hard. Ooh, maybe I could tie myself in there. That'd be clever. That'd be a real clever thing to do. Let's see, right across there. See, this is where leaving those little stringy bits from the dead roots can actually help stabilize when the string goes over the top of it. You can always trim them off later. This is a little bit that needs to be secure because that base anchors everything. Now, I'll try and get a turn up through here, which is where a nice small bobbin comes in. I'll try and get it behind all this, because it does wobble a bit. Careful. Ooh, no. I don't like that. That's a new mount, or the new growth. And I really don't want to have anything that might restrict that. There. That's it. Now, tie it off with my Allen Jones backhand. I'll just go once around so it runs up diagonally. There we go. Allen Jones backhand. Whoops. No, it's not going to stay that way. Yeah, it's underneath that hook. That's fine. So now all I need to do is put the label on it. Extra loop. Yep, there she goes. All right. Oh, come on, hold still. There she is. And oftentimes, if these fronds, leaves, stick out too far, I sometimes dress them up with a pair of pantyhose. How cute. And be very cautious of the new growth. Get it over that old flower stem, and that'll just help it become established. That's it. Laelia, Mishima, Bouquet, Blumen, Insel. That's it. Wayne's Weird World, doing sometimes, but not often, wonderful things. All right. See you next time. Cheers.